Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Reality Armchair, the greatest reality podcast video show about reality competition shows and Love is Blind.
Well, just ones that we like.
Ones that we like. But today we're going to be talking, because actually, I do want to talk about that a little bit. We're watching currently the final of Traders is tonight.
Oh, yeah.
So we're going to watch Traders right after this. We might do like a little not recap, but like
I think we could do a recap of the whole season.
Yeah,
It was pretty good.
thoughts and opinions.
Hey, Danielle.
Depending on how this ending, how this all turns out, might have a lot of opinions. But and then we're obviously watching Love Is Blind, which is I think ending as well tomorrow. But then there's the reunion.
Yeah.
And then she watches Love Is Blind or Below Deck. I kind of watch it here and there.
I haven't been watching it very much.
Yeah, and then same with Sister Wives. You've been watching that for a pretty long time.
I know a lot about Sister Wives, so
Yeah.
I could go off on Sister Wives for sure.
Yeah, so there's that, and then the challenge. But right now we're going to talk about Survivor Season 48, Episode 2. So you already took notes. I kind of mostly remember everything. I think there's going to be a couple key moments I forget. But I kind of got the gist, and I've been actually keeping up on Twitter. I've been keeping up on Twitter with Survivor since she kind of introduced me to it. I think it's very interesting to see people's reaction, and I feel like it's a lot different from what we have a lot. I think I remember last season, Genevieve was getting a lot of praise. Not in
Was
this.
she really?
Not in this house, no. But well, yeah, she was getting a lot of praise and a lot of hype. I think people were like, "Oh, she's a girl boss." She was kind of like the good villain or anti-hero is what I've heard some people refer to her as. But in this household, it was a straight up
I mean,
hate.
I think that she had smarts. I didn't hate
I think
her
she
as
was
much
good.
as you did, but
Oh,
I did have a name for her. Remember it?
The monkey mouth.
Yeah. But we were definitely Rachel fans, and we're very happy that she won last season.
I think I've been just on a lot of string of like back-to-back Survivor winners that I don't feel like
deserve to win.
I don't know if deserved is the right word, because I think they've definitely worked hard for it, but I just think they've always gone to tribal, or they always go to the final tribal council with two people that I think, or not two people, but with one other person I think really deserved it. Last season, Rachel deserved it all the way. No competition. What was his name? The guy next to her was pretty good, actually. Sam, I think, had a better case, but I think she had a better game. And I think the one that was really hard for me to stomach was Carson,
Carolyn, and Yamia that season.
Yeah, well, that one was okay. That one actually was pretty upsetting. No, it was the one with the redhead.
I honestly forget a lot of these people's names.
He was on.
Right after
He was a co-host for a season of the Jeff's podcast. What was it called? Or what was his name? He was the runner-up.
The Taylor Swift fan?
Yes, the Taylor Swift fan.
He's not a redhead.
No, I'm saying the redhead one instead of him.
Oh.
But he 100% deserved it. That was one of the biggest snubs I've ever seen.
Karma for liking Taylor Swift.
Whoa, I mean, that's just personal bias, but I think he really deserved it that season. But anyway, so far, well, I guess we should just get into
the actual season and episode.
But yeah, well, from the start, did you write down what happened at the start?
The start was them going back to camp, and right after
the tribal,
council. So Vula was right at tribal council, so coming back from that, and they had just voted off Steph, and Say was getting mad at Mary for lying straight to her face, even though Mary was like, well, you lied to my face. And just Say's attitude is just like so crazy to me.
And it's funny because I'll see her pop up on my Twitter. She made a tweet last week saying that like her back hurt, or she had just said, she made the comment that she carried the episode.
That's so ridiculous.
Which in a way she was definitely the center of attention.
Or
she was definitely the center of attention of that season, or well, not the entire center of attention. I think Eva and what's his face had some good highlights, but she was definitely like the main conflict and like I think what took up a majority of the
she's a
screen.
bitch.
Well, and then they lost, so I mean,
Yeah, that's the thing.
the
It's like,
whole end
she
quarter,
sucks.
the whole end quarter of that episode is about that tribe only. They don't even show the other tribes.
Yeah.
And then she made another tweet. She tweeted like a video of, we actually recorded it too, of Kevin fucking.
Oh, that was from her?
Yeah,
that was hilarious.
She tweeted a video of him belly diving, or like
belly
flopping.
Basically.
He was like trying to dive.
He was trying to dive, and he basically just jumped into the water and had his arms out like this.
Yeah,
he was trying to dive.
He looked like a cat about to like.
It was pretty
fall.
funny.
She posted that and she said, and that's another reason why we had to vote him out or something like that, which is kind of funny. But
yeah,
I could just tell she's gonna be pretty lippy the entire season,
as long as
on
she's
and
on
off
there.
camera.
Yeah, but I hope that she won't be on there for very long. But who knows?
I think when it comes to merge, if she does make it to merge, which
I don't think.
I
just, unless Vula starts winning, there's no way.
Yeah, and that's another thing I've seen people have issue with on Twitter as well is I've seen a lot of people complain about
one team losing consistently.
That there's 3 teams instead of 2 teams because this is a complete dominant force between those 2 teams versus Vula, right? That's the name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's been that way for a while.
I think I remember a couple seasons where there was 2 teams, and I think it was a little bit more balanced. I just think the format of 3 teams, and especially I think it's just a casting issue, or I mean not casting issue, but like the producers setting these teams up on certain tribes. Like I think it should have been like obvious that this would be the weakest link. They kind of put one super jacked guy on at each team, not super jacked, but like one strong man on each team.
I think Cedric was supposed to be the strong man,
yeah, but he's not.
Obviously, he wasn't.
And we'll go into later about Cedric because he kind of fumbles the challenge.
But yeah, they're not very balanced at this point.
Yeah, and I don't think they're.
The other thing that comes into play is that a team losing doesn't always vote off the weakest player. They vote based off their alliance that they've already made. So sometimes they're getting rid of strong people, which then makes them weaker in challenges. Yeah, so they kind of do it to themselves.
Yeah, I feel like they definitely weren't thinking ahead. Spoilers this go around because they got rid of I think one of their strongest members, like challenge wise.
I mean, he did injure himself in the first episode, his shoulder injury.
Yeah, I guess that's true, but I think he performed pretty decently, and I mean,
it wasn't his fault.
It was pretty.
Lost.
I mean, I guess just jumping ahead, the fucking weakest link was Cedric. He kept leaning back and he kept falling in the water. But we'll get to that.
So the next thing that happened, they went over. I wrote down they did humble traits, like a compilation of humble traits on. I think that was
the purple team.
Yeah, Loggy, and I think it's David.
With the 4 nipples.
Yeah, he has 4 nipples,
which is crazy. And then he talks about milking himself.
Yeah, that was wild. And then I just thought that was pretty funny to go over those things. And then Star finds the beware advantage after Eva says she should sit out in the challenge. Yes. Which I figured it would happen pretty quick, that somebody does not understand where Eva is coming from because of her autism.
You know, it's crazy. I'm going to try to stop mentioning Twitter, but I saw on Twitter, it was like one of the most liked comments, or one of the most liked posts I saw on Twitter, and it was a GIF of the angry guy, the angry emotion from Inside Out. You know what I'm talking about, the red one?
Yeah.
It was him like raging out, and it was like POV or something like Eva's reaction to 3 black people winning the immunity idol. And they were just like,
what?
They were
implying that Eva's racist.
Racist because it was 3 black people, even though she doesn't know who else has the the idol, but it was basically like, oh, this one black person on my tribe has the idol, she must be upset about it. When really Star is just kind of isolated herself. And then I think that post had like 900 likes, and I think it had 4 responses, and they were all like, what the fuck are you talking about? But I think for some people to kind of see the first episode, see her talk about her struggle with interpretations, and
or maybe they didn't watch the first episode and don't know, because it wasn't really mentioned this time.
yeah,
Joe kind of talked about it, but not like explicitly mentioned it. He just said with what she's going on,
yeah,
or what she's confided in me. He didn't like mention it again, so maybe they missed the first episode. But that is a wild accusation.
yeah,
because that has nothing to do with it.
Yeah, no, I think people just kind of
go crazy.
Yeah, especially on Twitter, it's such a like
that's why Twitter sucks.
I mean,
you should get off of it.
They all suck. I mean, it especially sucks now because of takeover. But I just like seeing some of the people's opinions, and they're mostly rational. But it's obviously the ones that are like more crazy, that get more impressions, get boosted up to the top. And for the most part, people are level-headed and had funny jokes to say. But I just thought it was like pretty shocking to see like hundreds of likes on this post on something such a bold claim, like such a crazy accusation. Again, for something that's like it's something that happens a lot to people with autism, is being misunderstood as like sexist or racist or whatever, because you have like a certain phrasing or a certain tone.
Even though I don't even know how that would come into play at all, because Star is the weakest link on that team,
and she's isolated herself.
I mean, Bianca might be pretty weak too. Is she on
that tribe?
Yes, she once again was not like really brought into funny? The episode.
I was thinking about her the entire episode. I was like, I'm gonna try to.
Where's Bianca?
Yeah, I was like, I'm gonna try to think or try to like keep an eye out for her. And
the only time it was mentioned was when Star brought Thomas and Bianca into the Beware Advantage search.
Okay.
That's the only time she was brought up.
Oh yeah, I remember. Oh, so that's her.
That's her.
So, well, that's the shitty thing about these 3 teams, or just like when a team is losing so much. The team that is always losing always gets the most screen time, because they're always like on the bottom, and they're always shown even at the end of the tribal council, and they always have the long talk with Jeff, and they just always have interviews with interviews on the island. So when a team is dominating, they don't really have much to show, because there's never any conflict. There's never any like struggles. They're just like talking about their 4 nipples and their warts on their finger, and like it's always just like, sunshines and rainbows. So it's hard to kind of get an idea of who they really are until merge, or until they lose.
Yes.
So for I feel like for these first 2 episodes, the most I know about these people are the people on
the green team, the green tribe.
Green tribe, yeah.
Yeah. Well. So, what do you want to go back to Star finding the Beware Advantage?
Oh yeah, Star finds the Beware Advantage and immediately tells. Who does she tell?
She tells John. Is that his name? No.
Starts with J.
It's Joe. I said John for some reason.
She tells Joe, and then she tells hairy guy. Shaheem. And then him and John talk about it. Or him and Joe talk about it. And they're like, all right, let's try to figure it out.
Shaheen helps the most. He's like running around trying to decipher like the letters. And then while he's doing that, Star brings in Bianca and Thomas. So literally the only person on the tribe that doesn't know about it is Eva.
Yeah.
And so Joe has a moment of like, what do? I have made promises to certain people, and he really struggles with like the emotional connection that he's made versus his alliances, because Eva actually isn't in the alliance of the other people. She's on the outs.
A little bit.
Star was trying to get her way into this alliance, but it seemed like she's not.
But I think it was made very clear by everyone, like, best case scenario, Star doesn't get her, because it's a Beware Advantage. So best case scenario, she doesn't find it, or she doesn't crack it, and she doesn't have a vote for next tribal. And I kept thinking, like, it doesn't even matter if she doesn't find it today. They're literally not going to go to tribal for like another probably 6 days.
and they did not go to tribal, so it doesn't matter that she still has not found it.
Yeah, I think
or
she'll be
decoded
fine.
it. But so then the next thing that happened while they were like doing all this scurrying, we see Kevin plotting to get Say out, and then while that's happening, a boat starts coming. They get really excited about the boat, and they're going on a journey. So it ended up being Mary, Thomas, and Mitch on the journey. Say was mad that Mary got to go.
Well, yeah, because they did a practice round, which is crazy. Did a practice round because it doesn't need a practice round.
Well, I would have been pissed. I guess I would have been too, but I almost thought like, did they actually say that they were going to do a practice round?
They did, but then they never agreed upon it. I think one of them was like, all right, let's do a practice round. And they're like, all right, let's just do it. And then they did it. And then I think one of them was like, wait, that was a practice round.
Because it almost seemed like after Kevin was plotting to get Say out, they were okay with Say not going, and that she didn't win the second time.
It was smart, even if they were an alliance. For the craziest person on your tribe to have 2 advantages is insane. Like,
it is insane.
You do not want to be in that position.
But then she turns right around and like gets mad at the guys for not like rallying behind her to go on this journey. It just seemed wild to me. Her attitude about it.
I don't even know if Say would have been capable of actually.
I don't think she would have gotten it.
I think she would have gotten too flustered and she would have fumbled.
She would have lost her vote, just like Mary did.
And she would have been voted out because that would have been. She can't use her idol, right? Can you use your idol if you don't?
I don't actually know.
Well, if she,
because you can't use your
shot in the dark
if you lose your vote.
I think you can. I don't know if that's ever been in play, or at least I haven't seen a season where that's ever been a circumstance.
I don't remember either.
But if that were the case, if she can't use her idol, she would have been voted out because that would have been Kevin and what's her face voting for her.
That's true.
And
there
Justin,
would have been more votes.
They probably could have finagled Justin on there because Say wasn't going to vote for Kevin until Kevin started plotting.
Yeah. Well, on the journey, Mitch gets a block a vote, and then Thomas gets to steal a vote. And Mitch ends up telling his tribe right away, shares with the whole tribe that he got to steal a vote, or a block a vote. And then Thomas comes back and lies that he lost his vote.
No, he says that he didn't even participate.
No, he says he loses his vote.
No.
I wrote it down.
No, well, you wrote down the wrong thing. That's not what happened. 1,000% that's not what happened. He literally says, so they give you an option if you want to do the challenge or not. He's like, I don't even want to risk it.
Okay, well, I guess I was too busy taking notes to watch
that. Too busy taking the wrong notes because I know for 100% fact, willing to put my life on it, that's not what happened.
That's ridiculous.
It's not what happened.
Well, Mary loses her vote and she tells the tribe.
Which is crazy.
Say rolls her eyes, and I just wrote once again that Say is freaking rude.
Well, and then she
hate her attitude.
And then she, I think she also said like, well, I guess it doesn't matter since you're not upset about it or something like that.
Yeah, she's like, well, I guess it doesn't really matter. You're totally fine with it.
Yeah, she's like.
And Mary's like, yeah, no, I'm not fine with it. It seems like a death sentence.
Yeah, she was like, it feels like a death sentence. And then I think that's when she like smiled to herself. Yeah, Say's pretty awful. I think she's unapologetically like just so laser focused on gaming really hard. And
well, what I said to you last night is I really don't like when people like bring too much personal like hatred for other players into the game. Like, I don't know.
Well, yeah, really I think that does get under my skin because that was actually the scenario last season, or yeah, it was last season, where that guy who's a Taylor Swift fan, he basically lost, or it would have been a tie. No, I think he would have won if the girl that he didn't backstab didn't spite vote him for the other girl, because she said, you have my vote 100%, and then he kind of like double crosses her at the final, and then she's like super cold hearted to him, and like the entire reunion, and like, or not reunion, but the entire like from tribal, and it was like the harshest on him, and they were like best friends. And
I don't really remember who it was,
but whenever that happens, like when people get so petty, I think there's a lot of people that look, even last season, Actually, that was 2 seasons ago, but last season also, that girl who was first on tribal, or the first on the jury, um, she was buddy buddy with the guy who made it to the end, and she was only voting for him, and she was pissed at everybody on the basically the entire jury from that point. And that happens a lot on Survivor, and I think some other game shows, but it is really annoying when people. I think it's another. I keep bringing up other examples, but it was the worst when we watched a show called House of Villains. Wes was supposed to win the entire show. He played the best. He was like the best player. He was the most fit.
Well, he was the only one that brought in gameplay.
Yeah, the only one that actually like played strategically. And then there was people who were like, he was gaming too hard. He was cheating. Like, he wrote down a letter from home and then he brought it in and he was like faking and lying to all of us. And it's like, yo,
classic Johnny Bananas.
That's like what you're supposed to be doing. And then they got mad. And that's the kind of thing I don't like in game shows, is when people take it too personal.
Yeah.
And they spite vote the other person that isn't deserving. And I think that kind of gets into Survivor every once in a while. And
except most of the players expect more gameplay. And like you said with House of Villains, since we've been watching the Traitors,
yeah,
I think it's become, and like watching the last reunion of season 2, they were talking about like cultural differences between
like
reality shows where it's not a
like
game.
Housewives versus like The Challenge and Survivor,
where they're gamers and they have plotting, and
it's a different culture.
It's totally different, I guess.
With reality TV, you can't just kind of mesh them all together and expect them to all be on the same page or to understand each other.
And not take it personally.
But when you go on a show like Survivor and there's like 50 fucking seasons of it, and you kind of get the gist and you know everything,
know what you're getting.
You should know what you're getting into, and you shouldn't take everything so personal. Although I can't say I would be better if I were on that island. I would probably.
You'd be.
I would probably spite vote. I would probably.
Absolutely.
I'd probably vote for the wrong person just because I got voted out by that person.
You would emotionally vote.
Oh, I 100% would. But I don't like seeing it because I think it taints the show a little bit because they're not playing how, in my vision, how it should be played.
Yeah, but I guess, what Jeff would say is it's all part of it.
I guess, although I have seen him say that he hates Russell, right? Is that his name?
He said that?
He said, well, because he was on a talk show one time and they were like, or I think it was like a podcast, and they're like, all right, Jeff, if you had to pick your least favorite Survivor contestant, who would he be? And he's like, oh, don't put me on the spot. And then he immediately says Russell.
Wow.
Yeah, and he's like, I just don't like him. I don't like the way he played. And I think
even though Russell's like considered one of the best villains of all time,
he's definitely a very compelling villain. And I think I saw this also discourse on Twitter as well, like people kind of arguing what makes a good villain. Like people are like, oh, this is Survivor, you're supposed to hate. And I've seen this argument for Danielle on Traitors as well. Like, oh, it's the Traitors, or oh, it's Survivor. You're supposed to game hard, and you're supposed to hate this person, and you're supposed to be shady and a backstabber. But I think there are likable villains. I think
there are likable villains that you're actually like kind of rooting for.
You're either kind of rooting for or you understand them. I think.
Yeah.
For me, Genevieve, I see her as a villain, and I don't see her as like a hindrance on the show or like.
She was just playing the game.
She was just playing the game as well as she could, and she was doing a damn good job.
She was doing really good.
It was
just,
It was annoying because It was annoying because she was going after my favorite player.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what makes the best villain, and that's kind of like the whole Patriot syndrome. Like people hate the Patriots because the Patriots fucking whooped their team's ass like for the multiple seasons, and like they're the most hated team, and now it's the Chiefs. They're the most hated team, and that's kind of like the villain because they're beating your favorite people. And I think with someone like Russell, and I think like with someone like Say, the difference is that there's no compassion for the people they're doing it for.
For Mary playing the game too, like she's there to win too.
Exactly, and they're not owning up to it. They're not. They're just like straight up lying and kind of gaslighting everyone else in a way where it's like not really benefiting them in the long run, or it's not really like getting them further. They're just doing it just to be an asshole. Because I think if you're lying and manipulating in this game, it's fine as long as it's getting you further. But if you're lying and manipulating just to like be petty and an asshole, that's when it's kind of like you're just an asshole.
Yeah. So then we go back to the Orange Tribe, which is Siva, and Mitch and Charity are bonding, and they're just kind of on the outs of their tribe. Charity was on the outs first episode, so then in this episode we're seeing that Mitch is creating a bond with Charity, and I think that kind of happened with them doing the humble traits stuff, because Charity talked about her toes, and then she asked Mitch like, "What's your humble trait?" And he like makes a joke about his speech impediment, and
yeah, he's like, I don't know, I don't have anything.
I don't know, just a speech impediment.
Yeah.
And then it seemed like they were pretty good friends.
Yeah, and the more I see of Mitch, the more I'm like, they need to get him out. They're gonna fucking all win. Yeah. They're all gonna lose. Mm-hmm. And I honestly almost internally cried when he fast forwarding to the challenge. Jeff asked him because he's like stuttering.
That's like almost the next thing.
Okay.
While they're bonding, Kyle finds the beware advantage, and Camilla figures out enlist was the word.
Which, by the way, that's her idol.
It should be. Like,
she did all the work.
That's so crazy for somebody to just like, here, figure this out for me, and then they just hand it back to them.
He literally just found it and then gave it to her and was like, can you crack this? And she cracks it.
She did all the work.
She cracks it in like 10 minutes.
So crazy. Yeah. It probably took longer than that. She took a long time to figure out enlist.
Well, I mean, she obviously had to find them all the letters.
Yeah. So then she hands back the immunity idol straight to Kyle. So, and then after that, they're at the reward immunity challenge, and Mitch is asked a question, and he's stuttering and has a hard time like getting through his sentence. And
it's like kind of the worst it's ever been.
So
I mean, maybe not in his life, but on the show.
Do you remember Drew, the comedian?
Yes.
He has a stutter, and he would talk about how if he started to stutter and you're on the spot, it gets worse because you're like your anxiety
people
just
are waiting
starts
for you
taking over.
to finish.
Yeah. And so that's what I saw was happening to Mitch. But Jeff asked, like, what do you want people to do during that time? Yeah. Do you want help, or do you want them to be patient to wait for you to finish? And Mitch ends up saying, like, he would like them to wait and just be patient with him.
Yeah.
And that was a sweet moment.
It was very sweet, and I got a little emotional about it because I was in like ruthless speech development classes when I was a kid. I had a speech delay. I didn't start speaking until a lot older in my life. Like my first words were until I was a lot older than most kids. And I was just in a lot of speech therapy, and I was obviously around a lot of kids with speech delays and like speech issues, and it's very like disheartening to see people with it, and it's very unfortunate. I think I'm very lucky that I
got past it
in a like not completely. I still like trip up on my words, and I get really upset about it, and I get almost like sad about it because I just feel like I'm back in elementary school and I can't form words right, and my brain is my brain is thinking, or no, my mouth is oh my god my mouth is running faster than my brain, and I can't get out what I want to say, even though it's like kind of almost in my head. And to have it on that degree, I mean, that must be so difficult. So for Jeff to ask, I think was very sweet.
Yeah. I think that's what I've really liked about the kind of new era of Survivor, is that Jeff is willing to learn, and he does like take those moments of real life and plops them right into the game, and like that was an opportunity for him to ask a very real question that received a very real answer. And I just really love those moments of the new era of Survivor, and just that Jeff is like a really great host.
Yeah. It's funny, when I first started watching Survivor, I fucking hated Jeff. Just because he was so chipper, and he's just like, he's always saying, let's get it on, and he's always like fucking...
He's got his catchphrases.
And I think the worst part is that he's always narrating every little thing that happens on the challenge. And
his job.
I've gotten used to it at this point. Is because I watched the challenge, which is kind of like Survivor, but not really. It's like frat boy Survivor. And TJ does not do. He's so laid back. He's like kind of.
He just laughs.
He
mostly.
laughs at
them.
He laughs at the contestants. He'll like call them out, and he'll kind of be hard on them. And it's very different from how Jeff is. And I'm so used to that. So when I started watching Survivor, and this fucking chipper ass guy is just narrating every little thing, and I'm like, Jeff, this does not need to be. You could just shut up for a second. But I've gotten used to it. I actually like it.
And I think it's helpful too.
I guess it is helpful
for the players. I don't know that it's helpful necessarily for
the viewers.
Yeah. Which a lot of what he does isn't necessarily for the viewers.
Yeah.
A lot of it is for the players.
And I don't mind it. I think on this scale, it's obviously a bigger show. It's obviously has a greater impact. And I like both shows for their own reasons. I think if Jeff were on the challenge, he would completely water it down, and it wouldn't be as trashy as it is. And if TJ was on Survivor, it would get a lot trashier, and it would be two different shows.
Yeah. So Jeff is a great host.
I think Jeff is a great host. I think he is. I mean, I haven't seen all of them. We tried to give Big Brother a chance, I think, twice. The host on that show fucking sucks. I'm sorry. I can't
even remember anything about that show because I hated it so much.
It fucking sucks. And we watched season 25, so obviously at that point they should know what they're doing.
I think
and it fucking sucks.
Didn't we watch?
We watched Josh's season. Yeah, and Fish Mouth. And
yeah.
But what I wanted to say is that I do really appreciate a good host, and I think TJ and Jeff.
They're both the right hosts.
I think they elevate their shows, and we've just seen a lot more competition shows lately, and it just makes me really appreciate those two, especially Jeff, because I think to be a part of a show for that long,
that's a hard thing to do.
It's pretty difficult.
Yeah. So Star and Camilla sit out, which I thought was funny that Star ended up sitting out, even though she was enraged that he
and then I also saw on Twitter, apparently she's a basketball player.
She is a basketball player.
She's a basketball player. Yeah. I didn't remember that until I saw that tweet. I'm like, why the fuck was she sitting on the bench?
Yeah, when they're shooting shots at the end.
Yeah, and they could have won.
That's true.
They could have won the fish gear, because, well, spoiler, they get second place. Because they have the lead and then they start choking it.
Eva makes 3 baskets in a row, and then she
kind of fumbles.
Loses to Mitch. Mitch actually
Granny throws all
of them and gets them.
Yeah.
And then Joe ends up getting second place. But yeah, that's a good point. She could have done a lot better with the shooting.
Yeah, she could have taken over, and if she would have choked, that would have been another reason to get her out and be like, oh, she fucking fumbled for us.
Yeah. I do wonder if she did end up saying my balance isn't good, or I can't swim very well, something like that. I don't know, but we never know what actually happens. Because it could have just been that Eva did mention her name, and that's who the tribe chose to sit out, and Star didn't speak up for herself, saying you guys probably want me shooting at the end.
Yeah, I mean, I think this, if I were on Survivor and I was good at something that they were doing, I would obviously want to kind of step up, but if you're claiming you're good at something, then you kind of choke under the pressure. It's kind of paints a target on your back within the tribe, at least. I think when it comes to merge, it doesn't matter, but when you're still in the tribe, it's a little scary. So I can see her being I don't really want to, especially because they did a lot of circus shit. They had to balance a ball between 2 poles. And obviously, for some people, that was just too difficult. And maybe
that's
Star,
where Cedric,
yeah, and maybe Star wasn't confident in that portion of the challenge, because it seemed like everyone had to do that. I think.
4 out of 5 of the players.
4 out of 5.
Because the first one actually had a ton of swimming to do.
Oh yeah, and she might not be a good swimmer.
Retrieve the balls, and so there was plenty that she may not have been good at. But those are conversations we don't see. So we don't know. And then, of course, Vula sucks ass, and they get last. And that's when Kevin dives.
Yeah, well, and
that challenge.
The crazy thing is that they don't even make it to the shooting part.
No, they didn't even make it to the
And
shooting.
I think they had
Cedric was stuck.
they had a second place lead. Or did they?
Like going into the ball portion and having to go over the balance beams, they were doing fine. I think they were all actually even.
The first pair killed it. I think they did it pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
And then they were ahead of the Orange Tribe. And then they finally caught up. Because I think it was the older lady and someone else.
Yeah, that's
and they were
true.
struggling.
They were a little behind. They weren't like terribly behind.
No, but they were struggling as well.
Yeah.
But then Cedric
they had a shot, and then
Cedric and Kevin just blew it.
Blew it.
It was funny because Say actually screams at Cedric and is like, "Stop leaning," and then she's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to scream like that." Like immediately after, and
Kevin's dive was definitely like a moment to laugh. Like,
yeah.
I haven't laughed like that at Survivor in a while.
It was pretty crazy.
Freaking funny. And then after that, when they get back, Cedric takes most of the responsibility.
Yeah, he says, "I take most of the responsibility, even though I was the one."
As he's like sobbing, crying, and everybody else starts crying, and
yeah, they were all crying,
even though they knew like right away that he wasn't going to be voted out.
Yeah,
it wasn't even like on the chopping block.
It wasn't even a thought.
No, because immediately Kevin goes back to saying, "I want Say out," and then, of course, even earlier in the episode, I knew that Kevin probably shouldn't have been saying that to Cedric, because last episode Cedric seemed completely on Say's side, like aligned with her.
Yeah, I think Cedric is trying to just ride that train. I think he understands that she's on the top of the food chain within their tribe, and that if he just kind of doesn't backstab her and just if he's like the golden boy, he'll make it to merge.
Well, at this time he said that she reminds him of one of his daughters.
Yeah, so they might have a deeper relationship.
So he has an emotional connection to her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which his daughter must be a bitch, because
crazy sauce. Yeah, and so Cedric ends up telling Say to play her idol, and that Kevin wants her out. Mm-hmm. So then Cedric is still trying to be like, just play your idol, we'll vote for Mary.
Yeah, Cedric is actually the only person that wants Mary out.
Yeah,
because then Justin, rat weasel.
Yeah, well, first Say wanted Kevin out after hearing that he wanted her out.
She just, again, is just like super petty. Which, I mean, if someone were calling out my name, I would want him out as well. Yeah. I would be like, well, let's fuck this other girl. Let's do that for another day. That.
Yeah. So then it ended up being that Justin wanted Kevin out too.
Yeah.
Yep.
Which is kind of crazy because
they were buddies.
I think they were the closest. I think they were like each other's boys, and then I think Justin felt intimidated by Kevin and was like, I don't really know if I want to make it to merge with him.
They didn't like how much Kevin was thinking, how much he was gaming.
Yeah, which kind of reminded me of last season, where I think it was an Indian guy. I'm trying not to like stereotype him or like.
I don't think, was he on the last season?
Yes, and he was partnered with some other girl. And he was like kind of riding high. He was kind of in Kevin's position. He was like kind of in the middle, and he was gonna make a big play on Genevieve, or I think he was gonna make a big play, and then Genevieve sabotaged it and like completely.
Are you talking about Andy?
No, not Andy. He was an Indian guy. He had glasses. He was on a tribe with Genevieve, and he was gonna make a play on somebody, and then Genevieve caught wind of the play. And she was like, I actually want to make a bigger play, and I want to vote him out. So then she tells the person that is going to get blindsided, hey, you're about to get blindsided by this guy. Let's go ambush this guy and throw him under the bus. So he's completely blindsided. And that's kind of what reminded me of this season, because that guy was in a really good spot up until Genevieve made that play. And she had really no reason to do that besides she just wanted to stir shit up. That's basically what Justin did. I think it would have been Mary had Justin not
agreed to the plan. Yeah, But I also think that that's just like where we're at in Survivor. That's been
Yeah, you just
the
can't
way that you get somebody out
you
for
can't
many
you,
seasons.
you can't fly too close to the sun because he was in a really good spot and he was kind of making too many plays without enough power,
Yeah.
and people were seeing that he's really trying, and they're like,
Well,
that's kind of a threat.
say.
Well, I mean, Say obviously heard that he's trying to get him out, but then Justin's like trying to get Say out, and or no, not Justin, but Justin sees Kevin is trying to get Say out as like a bigger play, and he's like, whoa, he's making real
That's
plays.
too much.
Yeah, like he's making too many real plays. Let's dial it back and let's get him out. Which is crazy because I think Say is obviously like the bigger loose cannon. I don't think she's going to be a huge threat emerge. I think she's going to ruffle too many feathers and she's going to be kind of outcast unless she's just like a fucking idol.
Well, and that's what people like bank on. I think that they think this is actually less of a threat, so let's get the bigger threat out now. And
Yeah.
Say will just dig her own grave at some point. So we don't actually need to get her out.
I guess that's kind of what happened with Russell. I mean, he was like obviously the big bad guy, and everyone knew he needed to get out, but they kept focusing on other people because like, oh, we'll get him next tribe or next council. And I think I still think with this group of people, they're gonna all look through Shay and be like, she needs to go ASAP. Would be my guess.
I mean, she's almost on Rome level for me.
You're saying Rome was worse?
No, like Rome was worse.
Rome. You're saying Rome was
I'm
worse.
saying Say is, yeah, almost to Rome level with how much she bugs me.
I kind of like
do not.
I think
Do not.
I think it was entertaining.
Of course, he was entertaining
In a
TV
way,
because they could edit him.
well, in a way where I mean, like, I think he was kind of harmless because he wasn't doing anything crazy.
He thought that he was the smartest person out there, though.
Yeah, but I think,
which is why he stayed around for a minute.
I think the worst thing was him targeting Saul. I think that was the worst thing, and that ultimately didn't lead to anything.
Mm-hmm.
But I think
it led to him being eliminated right before tribal.
Yeah, which is
or right before
merge.
The jury.
Was it jury?
He wasn't even on the jury.
No, but did he even make it to merge?
I think he made it to merge, and he was the first person voted out after merge. So he didn't make the jury.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I thought he was not charming, but I thought he was funny. And I actually just saw a clip on Instagram earlier of Q, which apparently his real name is Quintavious.
Yeah.
And I just got that reminded me of that character, and I really like Q. I think Q is one of my favorites.
Q, it wasn't that? Didn't we talk about him last time? He was the one that.
No, I don't think so. Well, what are you gonna say?
Wasn't he the one that played the shot in the dark and it worked?
No, that was a completely different guy. That was Kylan.
You said it was Kylan, but you never confirmed that.
No, it was him. It was definitely not Q. Q is like a dumb goof. He was kind of like a jokey guy. He was really tall and lanky. I guess Kylan was also. I think his name is Kylan. I might be confused.
That's what I'm saying. You don't know for
sure.
It's
definitely not Q. It's 100% not Q. Because I have their faces in my head. I think Q is more like shaven head. Not shaven head, but he has like more of a buzz cut. And Kylan kind of has more like poofy, longer hair. And Q is very goofy. Kylan was very smart.
Well, again, I forget most of these people after the season is over because there's just too many to remember.
Yeah.
But yeah, so tribal council, they're like acting like Mary's going home, and Mary obviously doesn't have her vote, and then Kevin gets blindsided like crazy, and it's all over his face. He is blindsided.
Yeah.
You almost feel bad for him.
I feel bad for him. You don't feel bad for him?
I mean, not as bad. I felt bad for Steph, but
Steph?
I don't know. Still not. It's a game.
No, I mean, I just think that he deserved better. I think he flew too close to the sun. He gamed a little too hard too early. Although I think he was right. I think they need to get Say out. They need to get Say out. I think Cedric and Justin are fucking dumb.
Although they did accomplish both things with one tribal council. Say played her immunity idol, so it will be back in play. Like somebody else could find it.
I guess.
And they got Kevin out.
I guess. I think merge wise, I think Kevin is the bigger threat. Like I said, I think Say if she's gonna make it to merge. When she makes it to merge, she's gonna be ostracized pretty fast. I think Kevin, he makes it to merge. He's gonna gel with everybody. He's gonna be on everyone's good side. I think he would have been a huger threat on merge, but I think they're not thinking long term because they fucking suck and they're gonna keep losing challenges, especially now that Kevin is gone. Because now it's this lanky pizza boy and Cedric, who's like,
who obviously sucks.
Who sucks, and Say, who's like all right, and then Mary, who's like this petite, tiny girl. So if there's anything physical, like strength wise, they're done.
They're just gonna continue losing.
Yeah. If honestly, if by third episode they don't, if they don't win, or if they do win, I will be completely surprised. Mm-hmm. I honestly think they're gonna lose. Maybe every one, unless it becomes more of like a mental thing or it becomes more of a less of a strength challenge.
Well, I think that we've seen where it gets down to like 2 or 3 on a tribe and then they like mix things up.
Yeah, then they merge. They do a mini merge. Where like they're like, all right, now we're gonna
they just like mix the tribes up.
Yeah, exactly. Like they do like
shuffle.
Yeah, like get a rock and then whatever rock color you are, you're on that tribe.
I can see that happening.
I can see that happening because they're just gonna keep losing. Mm-hmm. But that was pretty much the episode. I'm trying to think of the next time on Survivor what they showed.
Wasn't much.
They showed Say and Mary just kind of walking on the beach, and then Mary just fucking takes off.
Darts. I figured that's probably her trying to find
the idol.
The idol.
Yeah. But they didn't really show much. I think my predictions are still pretty locked in. Oh, there was one thing I wanted to mention. So when Star has the idol, or when she has the little box to try to guess the code, what's his name with the starts with the S? Shaheen has like the puzzle guide, and then he's showing Thomas, and he's like, I don't think we should solve this for Star. And then Thomas is like, well, why don't we just fucking make the puzzle guide disappear? And he's like, what do you mean? He's like, well, we just throw it out. We just get rid of it. And then he kind of thinks about it for a second. He's like, nah, I can't play like that. That's way too crazy. And that's when I knew Thomas, he's a gamer. He's here to fucking play.
Oh, yeah.
And that's exactly what I thought of, too.
Mm-hmm.
I would have been like, I'm 100% throwing that away. Like, the Seagull got it.
Okay, but the question comes, like, how do you play that off for Star to not hate you?
I don't care. You're gone. I would be like, sorry, Star.
But then you have to throw a challenge to lose.
No, you don't have to throw out. Oh, maybe, I guess.
Because otherwise she could like infiltrate the alliance.
Like merge? No, she's not gonna infiltrate. I honestly.
No, I'm just saying like think that out further than just losing the map.
I think if it were somebody like Eva, who is like more charming and more like somebody you can more sympathize with, unlike Star, who is just like playing such a shitty game. I can kind of see that argument, but I think everyone when she found the Beware advantage, everyone's like, fuck, this is the last person we want to get the idol. And
but then she made the huge mistake of sharing it with literally everyone.
Yeah, so it's not really a threat. It's just gonna save her for one vote. She'll probably use it on the first tribal that they have.
Well, unless they make her feel comfortable.
I think Star would have to be so stupid to not use her idol.
Well, she was stupid to share it with everybody.
I guess
she obviously thinks that she's got something going, and that this is showing like trust to share it. And
yeah.
So in other seasons, like most of the time, sharing something like that does create trust between people.
Yeah, but the problem is if you share it to everybody, it's not a secret.
It's not a secret.
It's not trusting. It's not being like, hey, I'm showing you this on the down
You
low.
also have to show it to the right person.
Yeah.
And she chose the wrong person right from the get-go because Joe is a very loyal person. And so he immediately showed it to Shaheen, saying like...
No, Star showed it to Shaheen.
No.
Are you sure?
Joe shared it with Shaheen because he was saying, I don't want to seem like I'm keeping secrets for Star.
I think Joe told Star, I'm going to show Shaheen.
Yeah.
And then Joe also, in confidence, told Eva.
I think that Joe actually went and got Shaheen like right away and said like, okay, so I shared it with him.
Yeah.
Like already shared it with him. Sorry.
Yeah, well.
But we also need him. He's gonna figure it out for you.
Which he
and
doesn't.
Then yeah. Well, he seems like he's getting close.
Yeah, but again, I would be like, you know what, bro? It's not my idol. I don't care if you get it. Like, I'm just not gonna do it for you. Like, no offense. It was what I would do if I were in that situation.
Well, that's why we went an entire 2 days without finding it, because they weren't actually trying to find it for her.
Yeah.
Just seeming like they were trying to find it. So I can understand where Thomas was coming from by saying like, let's just lose it. She just gave it to you.
I mean, yeah, honestly, that was my first thought when Thomas showed up. I'm like, honestly, you guys should just throw it away. Like, what is she gonna do? Vote for you? She can't.
Yeah, that's true, because she doesn't get a vote until she gets the immunity.
Yeah, so she would literally never have a vote. And I don't know if Jeff would step in and be like, this is kind of breaking the rules, but
I don't know. I think it would be an unprecedented moment where they have to learn to
not be fucking
add
stupid.
rules around that.
Well, yeah, that too.
Because that happens.
I think it's a smart play. And I think Star is so on the bottom that it wouldn't be like, oh my god, how could you do that to Star? Star is such a great person.
No, it wouldn't be about like doing it to Star, because they all kind of had that thought, I think. At least, like, we're not actually going to help Star. But
and everyone
Shaheen said, like, that's kind of scary that Thomas thinks like that.
That is true, which is like...
He's now scared of Thomas.
A little scary for me in my prediction that he might try to pull a trigger on him, but I think Thomas is going all the way.
I think if you're gaming that hard and you're putting it out that you're willing to just lose something like that, I think it's very likely that Shaheen will go after Thomas at some point.
Maybe. I think it's going to be...
I think that also shows that Thomas would switch no problem at merge.
Yeah, and I think a lot of these people are going to have to kind of force conflict with each other, because there is no conflict so far. I think the most conflict that's happening outside of the purple tribe or the green tribe is Star. And on the orange tribe, there's like no conflict at all. There's like nothing going on. And honestly, as I see more of Mitch...
I don't know that nothing's going on. They don't like Chastity.
I mean, yeah, they're just like not vibing with Chastity, but it's such a minuscule thing. Chastity. No, Charity.
Charity.
Not Chastity.
Same diff.
Yeah, obviously.
I actually know a family where their children's names were Charity and Chastity.
That's fucking
and
crazy.
Liberty.
That's actually the ugliest pairing of names I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah.
But Charity, she's kind of on the down. I mean, but she's also like not even like in a boat like what that Star is in, or that Amy is in. Is that her name, Amy? Mary.
Wait, what?
Mary, yeah, I'm talking about Mary and Star are on the bottom of their tribes. Charity is on the bottom of her tribe, even though she has like connections with Mitch, who is like kind of the star player on their team, at least like the most lovable. Like, I think if Mitch were to stick his neck out for her, they'd be like, all right, Mitch, we trust you.
I don't know that they showed that Mitch was really part of the alliance. Let me pull up their people again.
Well, I think everybody just loves Mitch.
So it's David, Kyle, Chrissy, and Camilla. Those are the 4 in an alliance.
Kyle and Camilla are...
So Mitch and Charity are not in the alliance.
I guess that's true. Kyle and Camilla are like best friends. I think they're the closest on the entire island, besides Say and
Cedric.
Say and Cedric and Eva and Joe. I think those are the 3 big duos: is Camilla, Kyle, Cedric, Say, and Eva and Joe.
Yeah. But if Mitch keeps performing really well in challenges, maybe he could like finagle his way into the alliance.
I think yeah. Well, also because they're like, it's hard to vote out a guy like Mitch, and I think everybody just likes Mitch, and I think the longer he stays in the game, and I think it's gonna be one guy where they're like, "Hey guys, I think maybe we should get Mitch out," and they're gonna be like, "Oh,
How dare
how could you?
you?
We're gonna vote you out now." I think that's exactly what's gonna happen.
Or so if you bring it to Thomas, he's like, "Oh, I thought about that immediately."
I think Thomas might be the first person to be like, "We gotta pull the
Thomas
trigger."
would probably be the person.
We gotta pull the trigger on
Yeah.
Mitch because we're all gonna lose if we take him to or if we take him to the.
Who would
end.
agree with him?
I think
Justin. Justin would agree.
Justin. I think Joe would. I think Joe would be like, "You're right."
No, Joe's too kind-hearted. I think Bianca would agree.
I don't know anything about Bianca.
Exactly.
So.
I
think Joe would.
No.
Joe doesn't have any connection to Mitch.
Unless Mitch like goes against his alliance like directly, I don't see how.
I think if you're looking at a strategic point, you look at Mitch.
Yeah, but Joe is already struggling with the emotional connection versus strategic.
Yeah, but he already made his alliance with Eva.
His one-to-one alliance, but he's also in a 4-person alliance,
I guess.
California Girls. So he's struggling with that.
I suppose.
Because Eva is not in the California Girls.
I suppose.
Well, yeah, I don't know that I have changes to my prediction. Probably that Mitch would make it before Eva, maybe.
Yeah.
I think Eva's gonna piss somebody off.
It's looking not so hot for Eva because
I mean it's really hard. It's really hard to like read people, and
it's really hard to read people
and for them to understand her and like what she's really saying, or like not take it so personally. Yeah. Exactly what started, but she doesn't know that Eva has autism.
Yeah, and I don't know if I don't know how their tribe looks if they lose and Star's not there. If they lose, Star's out. If they lose again, I don't know who they're gonna put out. I think there's a good chance it would be Eva, and I think that's when Joe would have to be like.
Joe would be.
He would have to do something.
Yeah.
He would have to backstab one of his boys.
You know what's probably going to happen is when the shuffle happens, because inevitably Vula is just going to continue losing. So they're going to get down to like 3 or 2 players. So then they do a shuffle, and then probably Joe and Eva are going to be separated, and then Eva's just like going to be voted out.
If she gets shuffled into a team without him, good chance that she'll be voted out as like the straggler. Yeah. If she gets on a team with like.
Unless she finds somebody that she can confide in again. But yeah. I don't know. Even then, I still feel like that's a pretty big possibility.
Yeah, I don't know. It depends on how she sways people with her tone and
which is super difficult for her. Yeah. So guess we'll find out how it plays out. All right, we're gonna go watch the Traders.
Yeah, now we're gonna go watch the Traders.
And hopefully Danielle does not freaking win.
Yeah, if Danielle wins, I will be drinking tonight.
Yeah.
All right, see you next week. We're a little late on this one because, like I said, we just kind of had a rough 24 hours and we just didn't have the energy to record. So we're recording on Thursday. We're gonna try to record every Wednesday night. Every Wednesday night after we watch the episode. So this is probably gonna come out Saturday, but we will try for Fridays. We will see you next Friday, maybe Saturday, hopefully not Sunday. Yeah, that's it.